What's going on, E?
What's up, my brother? What's going on?
Oh man, you know me, chasing the dream as always, man. Listen, every time you jump over one hurdle, you got another hurdle you got to jump over. It's crazy.
Right. It's crazy. That's just the nature of the beast, man. But, like I always say, we're going to stay the course regardless of what. You know what I
We're
mean?
gonna stay the course regardless of what, man. So listen, man. Listen, we putting out these episodes. We staying in the game. You hear me?
No question.
Things gonna get greater as we go. But I like the fact that we starting from the bottom, so we can show the transition that when you put your mind to something, whatever you put your mind to, because you remember we spoke. This was just an idea.
Right.
It went from an idea to putting it down on paper. It went from that to actually investigating what we need to do even to get to this point.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we at this point, and what's this, episode 9? I mean, we getting up there, man.
Yeah,
we getting up there, man. But today, like a friend of mine told me, man, she loved the episode we did on the legacy of hip hop. She wanted me to go in more depth, but she said, listen, man, like you said, y'all are teaching financial literacy. And that was a beautiful thing, talking about hip hop. But, like she said, man, I want to log on here to see what type of information I can get. Right. And so, this is only our 9th episode, but we're still providing information for our audience, man, that's going to walk with us along a long way. So today, what we're dealing with, E?
We're dealing with credit, man. And
man.
Yeah, credit, man. And
credit is king.
Credit is king. Absolutely, man. And yes, I thought that introducing the credit aspect into the mix, you know what I'm saying? Because the value of it, and just to bring some information and knowledge, man, to the listeners, viewers, you know what I mean? So that's what we're doing today.
Absolutely. So I love that. I love that, to get into credit. So as everyone know, our journey, where we were and where we are now, but I was introduced to that trying to build your credit a long time ago. And when I came home, I was off to the races. I implemented a lot of the strategies, that was taught to me when we was there. You feel what I'm saying? Right. But what we were going to get into is what are the 5 components of credit? That's what you want to speak of? What are the 5 components of credit?
Right. But absolutely. I want to get into that because that information is what a lot of individuals are not aware of and how to manipulate it to their advantage. And this is what the credit bureaus are analyzing when they decide, when they give you a credit score and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, I'm like, coming up, just say in the 90s or 80s, 90s, when you hear of credit, all you hear is just pay your bills on time. You know what I'm saying? You don't hear about the other components. And actually, it wasn't maybe just 30 years ago is when they even introduced the different components of what these credit bureaus actually look at as far as in your credit report. But prior to that information wasn't even available. So it's no wonder why our mothers in the generation, only thing they knew was just pay your bills on time. But it's other components, and we're going to get into that.
Well, absolutely. And let me stop you for a minute. You're right. They knew about paying the bills on time. And I'm going to tell you something that I've learned. Right. I thought that maybe they didn't know. But come to find out later on when I had longer conversations with them, they actually knew to a degree what they were doing. Like you said, there's other things that you can do, but they knew getting that on time. They were able to get them their house. They was able to get their cars. They were able to keep a roof over our heads. So they knew to a degree what it is that they were supposed to do. Now, like you said, this new wave of using your credit for leverage and things of that nature, that's a whole nother beast, right? So you're into that, and you're absolutely right. So today we're going to what? So like we said, the 5 components of credit. And number 1 is the payment history.
Payment history, right?
And then number 2 is the amounts that's owed
right
on your credit. Number 3 is the credit history lengths.
Right.
And number 4 is the mix of credit, what type of credit you have. And number 5 is new credit.
New credit.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I believe that we should tackle this one by one. We should tackle this one by one so that the viewers can get an understanding. And for anyone's reference, I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a certified financial planner. This is something we learned on our own. As time go on, we're going to bring in people that can actually explain it better. But you are actually a good man in it because you were able to accomplish a lot of things, understanding the level of credit. So before we get into that number one, which is the payment history, would you like to give a little backstory on how you utilize credit to get you to the point where you were at?
Right. And I'm going to even go further back, just acquiring the knowledge first. You get what I'm saying? Prior to the implementation. Now, I remember just being a young guy in the streets, credit wasn't necessarily a topic, for the street guys, the hustlers. You know what I mean? We always deferred that to, our ladies and things that, you know what I'm saying? Say, you know what, you build your credit. And I'm saying, then we're going to leverage your credit to buy a house, things of that nature. But it wasn't so much an emphasis on us as street guys building credit. And then honestly, you had no way of doing it because you had no work history. You had nothing. You get what I'm saying? You just got to, in the street life, it's difficult to build credit.
Absolutely.
So it's always you are utilizing other people to acquire things for you that have the credit. You got the cash, but in the quick disclaimer, that's illegal. You know what I'm saying? Because, and this one thing I learned, being in federal prison, those are listeners and viewers that know our journey, coming from federal prison. Myself, I did 13 and a half years. My brother Kyle, did 24 years. I still try to figure out how he, made it through that.
One step at a time. One step at a time.
Right, because I think about my journey. I'm like, he did 10 years more than I did. But anyway, you learn things being in federal prison that maybe the average person doesn't know. Now, the thing called straw purchases. So the thing is, like, when you're in the streets and you say, you go to someone and say, listen, I want that car. I can't get it. You get it from me in your name. That's a straw purchaser.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're providing the funds, but they're providing the credit, that's illegal. But
yes.
I digress. You know what I mean? But
because absolutely. I understand.
And a lot of people don't know that in the streets. They just think, you know what, or the person that's wanting to help you. You could go to someone and say, listen, I like that new car, man. They say, you know what, I'll help you. I'll use my credit. But that's illegal, and they could get themselves in trouble. So that's just a little disclaimer. Like, that's illegal. But that's the common theme in the streets. The guy with the street guy has the money. Everyone else, the legitimate individuals, has the credit. Y'all work together to get the things.
Absolutely.
But going to federal prison, being around individuals of different walks of life. And that was the, I don't want to say benefit necessarily, but that was an advantage of being in the federal prison versus state prison, because I've been in both. State prison, you primarily around the street killers, drug dealers. You know what I mean? You're primarily around that element.
Yeah.
The federal prison, you're around more white collar criminals, so-called criminal bankers. You know what I mean? You're around different people. So you sit down and talk with them, and they can provide you with information that you'll know. So anyway, throughout my course of being in prison and wanting to change, I knew that I needed to understand finances on every level.
Mm-hmm.
And personal finance, but I also knew how valuable credit was. So I started to purchase books. Friends of mine purchasing books. We should sit down we used to have like little tables, and we sit down and build, because it's a new concept to us and we all wanting to learn, right? So now we're going to fast forward. So when I come home, I'm like, I didn't want to waste my time just reading books. I'm not the type to read a book just to want to sound smart, right? I'm implementing it, right? If it makes sense to me, and I'm like, okay, it's valid. I've seen other people have success doing or implementing these steps. I'm gonna do the same thing. So fast forward, when I was released, I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start working on my credit immediately. So within like the first 4 months, I started the process, and started just with a little credit card. You know what I mean? A little secure credit card. I want to get into that eventually too. Exactly what I did to get my credit to up to about 800. in about 2.5 years, 2.5 to 3 years. I was at an 800.
Absolutely.
I qualified for a mortgage. I qualified for a commercial loan. I qualified for an auto loan. We'll get into that as well. But that was my mindset of stating, like, you know what, I want to change. And I knew the process of change is acquiring knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. And what sticks out to me too, I'm sure a lot of our viewers would know Jay-Z, obviously the great philosopher Jay-Z, right? And his album 444, he made a statement, a lyric, right? And it stood out to me. He referenced a certain community, right, of how they were able to acquire half the United States, right?
Absolutely.
In terms of real estate. Mm-hmm. And he boiled it down to one word, credit. He just left it right there. He didn't expand too much on it. He said, you want to know how these people got all the property in America? Credit.
Credit.
He like, that's how they did it. So that stood out to me. So I'm like, okay, this credit thing, man, this is going to be a key factor getting to the next level.
Absolutely.
So that was for me. Then, like I said, we just started studying, and came home, was able to implement it. You know what I mean? So I'm sure it was a similar situation with you. I'm sure, just being surrounded with guys and just talking about credit and the understanding of it. So what was your introduction to say, you know what, understanding the real value of credit?
Well, listen, I'm just like you, E, because I was introduced to this, but I didn't really understand it early on. I didn't really understand it. But when we came home and I was thrust into it, I said, you know what, man, I'm here. Lucky for me, I had a foundation, beautiful family that was still there for me, able to show me love. But I started to implement the things that we learned when we were away. And I'm not talking about the things that you can actually do, like you said, the roundabout ways to make it happen. No, right. I actually did it the right way. And before my eyes, I couldn't believe it. Because when I first when I first started doing it, they was like, who are you? They were like, man, you not in this. Who are you? We don't have no record of who you are. Right. And at first I thought that was a bad thing. But then I began to realize that works in my favor. You see, I don't have no bad credit history. You understand? I don't have nothing that I failed to repay. I don't have anything bad. So I'm starting out with a clean slate. So I thought to myself, I said, what can I do? Mm-hmm. Got the cards, like you said, got the secured credit cards, and I began to implement it. Every time I bought something, paid it back on time. Every time I bought something, I paid it back before I was supposed to pay it back, and then also maybe gave a little bit extra during the month. So these are different strategies that you can implement that can work toward you building your credit. Then I turned around and I started seeing, hold on, okay, it started at it jumped in there at 4 something. I was like, okay, I'm doing good, right? But then every time I turned around, it started going up. It started going to 5. I go ahead and get another credit card. I start buying it and doing the same. I was very diligent on making sure that I didn't buy anything above my means. I understood the 30% utilization rule. So I didn't buy anything that was above my means or something that I didn't have the capability of making sure I could handle. So I followed that principle, and as time went, it didn't take long. And that was the amazing thing, because I always heard people tell me that, listen, credit is used to do things. It's not just used to say, yo, I got an 800 credit score, 700 credit score. You're not doing nothing with it. You're not doing nothing with it. It's just like bragging, you got a brand new car, a house, but what are you doing with it?
Right. That's true.
You feel what I'm saying? So when I got to that point and I started seeing it going to 6-something, 700, I'm like, wow, what can I do now? What can I do? Mm-hmm. So I started implementing those principles. But the principles work as long as you continue to pay back either before or on time what you spent. Mm-hmm. They have no choice but to reflect that to the credit bureau that you're paying on time. And every time you turn around, your score is going higher. Your score is going higher. And you got to be conscious, right? Because sometimes we get in above our means. And even though, I've been here for 6 years, I've experienced it like, wow, I'm here, but let me get this. Now I'm all the way down. Let me try to work it back up, but now let me get this. Now I'm back down again. So, yes, you could utilize it, but you got to be conscious to not let it overtake you.
Right.
You got to be conscious to make sure you try your best to stay at the 30% utilization rate. So basically, those are the steps that I took to get the things that I got. And, I didn't do it alone. So I'm not in the same position as many people. So I didn't do it alone. I had help to do it. But like I said, we're going to get into this. And if you want to start with, because I'm impressed with the things that you did, is getting the trucks, doing the things you do, listen, you've been going for a while and you got the home, you got all these things. So we're going to start with the payment history. Tell me what the payment history mean and how it can work for us or against us.
Yeah. So the payment history is basically your history of payments, whether on time or late. Get what I mean? And this is reflected in your credit report, right? And then your credit score is based off of the summary of your credit report. Mm-hmm. So payment history is very important, man, because, and that's 35% of your score. That's the most important part of the credit scoring process, your payment history. Because if you're showing late payment after late payment after late payment, that accounts for 35% of your score. So that'll drastically decrease your score. Just a late payment. You get what I mean? So I think that, and that's something most people know and understand. Because like I said, when I was younger, my mother always drilled in me, pay your stuff on time. But even though I applied it in the street, when I was dealing with the connect.
I didn't understand it neither. What? Pay what on time? What?
But like I said, I was able to transfer that principle into that old lifestyle. That's why to this day, I don't owe anybody in the street either. You know what I'm saying? Because I always pay, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I applied it there, but the principle is the same. Pay your bills on time and pay the creditors. It's really that simple. And like I said, that accounts for 35% of your credit score. So payment history means paying your bills on time. You know what I mean?
That's very important to make sure you pay that on time, because you'll find yourself being back in the hole and you got to work yourself out of it, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. So now the amount owed, because we own the 5 components of a credit score. Number 2, the amounts owed.
Right.
That is what?
Amounts owed, said differently, is just credit utilization or amount of debt. So basically, how much debt are you using versus what's available to you, right? In a nutshell. So I use this example. This is what helped me to understand it. You got $1,000 credit card limit, right? You're feeling rich. They gave you $1,000, right?
Right.
Now, if you max out that credit, meaning you spend the entire $1,000, that's 100% utilization, which is counterproductive because to the credit bureaus, you look risky to them that you maxing out your card. Even if you pay it off, if you constantly maxing out your card, you look risky. They look at it as you may be a little incident away from not being able to pay it. Like you overextended. You get what I'm saying? You maxing out your cards. So what's recommended is not to utilize more than 30%. So we're going to use the $1,000 example. $300 is recommended to utilize the $1,000. But let me tell you some real game, which I learned and I implemented and it worked. It gets better. If you're utilizing 10%, 30% is good, 10% is excellent. So if you got $1,000 limit and you're only utilizing $100 of it, it looks better than utilizing the 30%. And they can see this. This is reflected. Now, okay, this guy, he only uses $100 of the $1,000 available to him. So he's less risky. So I encourage people 10%, but 30% max. But if you can, stay back 10% or below, 9 to 10%.
That's good. So you're recommending even going below the 30% if you can.
Below the 30%, about 10%.
Because it's favorable for you.
At about 9%, that's optimal.
Got you. Below. All right. So let's get into credit history lengths. Right?
Right. So basically, That's just basically stating how long have you had credit.
Mm-hmm.
So, from the day you first got your first credit card, you know what I mean? Whether it's 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Now, this is determining your length. Now, but that could be manipulated, right? For you or against you. What you can do, like say for instance, you don't have, you just starting out, you don't have no credit length, obviously, you just started.
Yeah.
What you can do is become or piggyback on someone that has a longer credit history, and they could place you on their account as an
and that is okay.
And that's legal and it's okay. I have actually my son. I have him as an authorized user on one of my cards for years now. He's 22. He's establishing off of me a credit history. You get what I'm saying? And they allow that. So when he is off doing his own thing now, he has an extensive credit history versus someone just starting out. And this is something that other cultures do that we don't know about, right? By the time you have a kid, he get out of college, he's been on his parents' accounts as an authorized user. So 18 to about 22. So by the time he's out of college, he could go off on his own now. He have a credit history that he benefited off of his parents. You know what I mean? This is something I do with my son. Actually, most credit card companies, you go online, you will see like if you want to place someone as an authorized user, it's allowed. So I did that for my son just to give him a leg up. You know what I mean? So
and it's working.
And it's working. You know what I mean? But it could be counterproductive for him if I'm irresponsible.
Gotcha.
Because his credit history is my credit history. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm messing up, it could affect him negatively and he ain't even do anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's important to, if you're utilizing that, just do the right thing because you can ultimately affect the person that you're trying to help.
So what about you got him as an authorized user, but what about the theory of putting someone on your phone bill or putting someone on your electric bill or putting someone on your other sorts of payments that can reflect for them as well? Is that okay?
Right now, but this is a new thing with certain. I think Experian is allowing utility bills to be included for your credit report because historically, utility bills was never included in your credit. No matter how early you pay your utility bill, you've been paying on time for 20 years. It was irrelevant. You have certain companies now that are allowing utility bills to help people build up their credit scores. But it could, like I said, that can be counterproductive because you got a lot of people know that they pay their utility bills late. You know what I'm saying?
And not at all.
Well, not at all. You know what I mean? But the primary way is credit card, authorized user, put your son on. That's the best way.
Got you.
Yeah.
So we have tackled already the payment histories, the amount owed, and also the credit history length. And you always tighten me up. That's why you're my partner, because you always tighten me up. Listen, so the number 4 is credit mix. And that is what? A mix of different types of credits, like whether it be a car loan or credit cards and or mortgage, or does it depend either or?
All of the above. Because what the credit bureaus want to see is how you function with different types of credit. Now, you got revolving credit, which is credit cards. If they give you $1,000, you spend it, you pay it back, you get another $1,000. They just continue to revolve, right? Then you get installment loans, right? Which is, say, we're going to use, for instance, a car note, which you got $20,000 to pay back. You're paying $500 per month for 60 months, whatever. Those are installment loans. So that's, if they see that you are good at paying off your installment loans, right? You're good at paying off your revolving loans, which is the credit cards. And I'm going to tell you how I was able to do both simultaneously to get my credit score up. But this is what they look at. That's what credit mix means. They want to see how good you are with different types of credit, because you can be great with a credit card, right? And terrible with an installment loan. Or you could be great with an installment loan. Like I said, a car, you're making your car payments because you value your car. You love your car so much. You paying that early.
Yeah.
But your credit card, you kind of lackadaisical with. You get what I'm saying? So they want to see how good you are managing both.
Absolutely.
So that's in a nutshell. Well,
the mix, the credit mix.
Credit mix, yeah.
Got you. What about new credit?
Now, new credit just meaning, you're applying for just new credit. So you just now, and they look at that too, because you get some people, they are constantly applying for new credit. They got 10 credit cards. You get what I'm saying? Every time a little pre-qualification come in the mail, you know what I'm saying? You get 1 million of those. They signing up for it. They got all kind of new That's risky. It looks risky. Even if you're paying it all back, you can manage it. It looks risky. So it's about the perception more so than what it actually is. Because you got some people got 5, 10 credit cards, managing them perfectly. They're doing well. But to the credit bureaus, you're looking like you're thirsty out there.
Absolutely. So is it a desired amount that should be, or it really doesn't matter? It depends on the person. How good did they make sure they pay back? Does it amount? Should it be a few, 3, 4, 5 cards or more?
Well, from my studies and just practically, 3 cards is sufficient. 3 cards, anything above, because some people are under this impression that, okay, if 3 cards is good as far as the credit bureau's reporting, if I get 6, that'll be better. No. 3 cards is like sufficient in terms of if you want to build credit. You know what I mean? Anything more than that, like I said, you're looking thirsty to them.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So, and then also you just with the credit, new credit, how that affects your length of history, the average. Because say, for instance, you got a credit card 5 years.
They looked at that like what, 10%?
That's 10% of your credit score. That's relatively minor relative to the other components. Well, the credit mix and the new credit is relatively minor relative to the other ones, but they still hold weight.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So for me, my whole purpose for building credit was to leverage it to build wealth. You know what I mean? Not to build credit, to be a consumer. So that's why I apply the principles strictly, right? Because my intentions and purpose for it, you know what I mean? Like you said, you have a lot of people with the high credit scores, but it's not doing anything with it. It's like they bragging about it. And I'm going to quickly, while I have this on my mind, throw this in there. A credit score alone doesn't mean anything. It's the substance behind it. When we're talking about the credit mix, we're talking because you could get a 700 credit score with a little Capital One card for about $300. But guess what? When you go to get that mortgage, they're gonna say, "Well, this, you don't have no substance behind your score." Right?
Gotcha.
When you want to go get that commercial loan, which I applied for all of them, I experienced this.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a high credit score, but they'll say, well, you don't have any commercial loan history. So you don't have the substance that we're looking for. You look like you do well with your little credit cards, you know what I'm saying? But that's insufficient. So what I did was initially, and I worked these 2 things simultaneously. When I first came home, like most of us, we start with the secure credit card. That's the only thing you can get. You have to put up the money. You know what I'm saying? They want to see how well you could do with paying back. But you have to put up the money. So it's secured, and that's collateral for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with that. But what I did was also, which I've learned it and implemented, I went to a credit union, right? Mm-hmm. And I got a secured loan. Same concept. You got to put up the money. But the idea is, as long as they're reporting your payments to the credit bureaus, and
Yes.
and the credit bureaus don't know if it's secured or unsecured. All they know is you secured a loan from a financial institution and you paid it back. You know what I'm saying? On time, monthly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So my credit score shot up exponentially because I implemented these two things simultaneously. And then when it was time for me to get the mortgage, I had this on my credit report. So I was able to qualify for a mortgage at a low interest rate. Now we're going to get into that too. The relationship between credit scores and interest rates.
Yes.
Because most people don't understand that relationship or that correlation. And it's an inverse relationship, meaning the lower your credit score,
Mm-hmm.
the higher interest rate you're going to get on that loan.
Gotcha.
And the higher the interest rate you pay on that loan, the more money you're paying out of pocket over the life of the loan.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So we both could get a car, right? They'll accept your credit score at a 680, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll give you the car. But guess what? At a 10% interest rate. Here it is, I'm coming in with an 800. I get the same car at a 5-6% interest rate. So your monthly payments are going to be higher than mine.
Absolutely.
Right? Even though, you qualify for it, but your score was low. And you might pay an extra, say, $150, $200 per month for the same vehicle. Add that up over 60 months. You know what I'm saying? How
Absolutely.
much more money out of pocket you're paying versus me because I had a better credit score. So it's an inverse relationship. The lower your credit score, the higher the interest rate. The higher your credit score, the lower the interest rate. No, it's really that simple.
Good information. That's good information. I love it, Ian, and I hope the viewers are soaking it up. This is very valuable information. I'm glad we decided to talk about this topic this week.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you a question.
Yep.
What do you think can actually, because you gave us an overview of what can help your credit score, what you need to do to build the credit score, the certain steps you need to take, what you need to look out for, what you need to do. What you think can hurt your credit score? What are the things that can hurt your credit score and what you should avoid, while you're trying to implement these strategies? So
basically everything we spoke of, but doing the opposite will hurt your
yeah, absolutely.
So, when we talked about payment history, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not making payments at all or you're not paying on time. It's going down.
Gotcha.
Your debt, right? The amount of debt or the amount, your utilization that you're using versus what's available. If you're maxing out your credit cards every month and then they're reporting this and quickly, there's a little strategy to that. Know when is your actual statement date. But say because you max out your credit card and your statement date is the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's going to report to the bureaus, whatever you utilize. If you have the means, make a payment, pay it down. So what's reported is only a small amount. You may have to. You say you go on vacation. Sometimes you may have to max out that card.
Yeah.
Right? You say, man, I don't have the cash. You know what? I got $10,000 on this card. I'm going to blow it. As soon as I get back, I'm going to pay it down. So the credit bureau don't know what you just did unless it's reported. So before the 15th, before your statement, right, pay it down to maybe $1,000. You put $9,000 on it. You paid it down to $1,000.
Yeah.
They're going to only report the $1,000.
So like what you just said, so if you wait till after they make that report and pay it down, it's not helping you.
It's not helping you because they're going to report a maxed out card. They're going to report that 10,000. So just to add that in there, but basically, what can hurt you? Not making your payments on time or at all, maxing out cards and allowing it to report that way. Length of credit, that accounts for 15%. Sometimes you have no control over that necessarily. If unless you are keep applying for new cards, and what it does is it reduces your average. So, say for instance, your last card was 5 years ago, your first card. Then you maybe 3 years later you got another card. That could bring your length of history kind of down a little in turn, because now the average. You get what I'm saying? They say, okay, well, instead of you having a 5-year credit history, because you got these new cards or new credit, it brings your average down a little bit as far as you don't benefit from that total 5 years.
Got you.
That you would have had. But I mean, sometimes you're applying for new credit because you're doing things, particularly mortgage. You may get yourself to a situation where you want to buy a house. You know what I mean? Now you got a mortgage on your credit report. You purchased a vehicle, you financed the vehicle, you have that on your credit report. But credit cards try to minimize. If you got 3 decent limits, that's sufficient. You know what I mean? Anything more than that,
over what it is that you can do.
Right. Exactly.
Got you. Is there a particular account, whether it's a mortgage, credit card, student loan, regular credit card, what account impacts the score the most? Like, what has the greatest importance out of all the different accounts that you have on your credit score? Is there a basis to judge it by? Okay, I have a home, I have a car, I have a student loan, I have 2 or 3 credit cards, like you speak. I may not have a home, but I have the rest. What credit card or score has the most impact?
Just from my experience, it's almost like, depending on what it is you're trying to do, it would determine what has the most impact. Like I said, if you want to go get a commercial or even an auto loan, just a regular auto loan, they could give you a higher interest rate because they say, well, you don't have prior auto loan history. So I think, just like I said, I'm not a professional, just from my own personal experience. And I've encountered what I'm saying. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't know what's exactly the most important. Only I know is what it is you're trying to do.
Yeah.
As far as if the mortgage is more important. Because I remember going to get a commercial loan, an auto loan after the mortgage. And having conversations with lenders, because they talking to me kind of like I'm Joe Schmo. But see, some lenders got different criteria and qualifications. But I'm like, I got a mortgage. This is my mindset. When I went for the commercial loan for my truck, certain lenders didn't want to mess with me. I was confused initially. I'm like, I got good credit, revolving credit, got a mortgage, good installment.
Company.
Right. Why y'all giving me issues with the commercial loan? The guy said, you don't have no commercial loan history. Specifically. Yeah, we see your credit score. And the guy told me, he said, listen, man, you have an amazing credit score. Strong. At that time, about 800, 794. He was like, but you don't have, and they don't know how you are with commercial loan experience. You get what I'm saying? So this is answer your question from my personal experience. I don't know which one accounts for the more, because now if you had a mortgage before, you paid it off, or you want to refinance, then they're going to look and say, well, he had a mortgage before, he did well, here you go, no problem. Even with an auto loan, I experienced the same thing for a car. I'm confused again. I'm like, yo, I got a mortgage. This is my mindset. Like, I got the biggest thing.
I'm doing big things.
Exactly. I got the biggest thing. I got a big amount on my mortgage. In my mind, I'm like, I could go in any institution and they should bow down. Like,
recognize it.
You go and try to get a car, they're like, sir, you don't have no auto loan experience. But you like, yo, I pay a mortgage every month. I pay my credit card bills on time. Sir, you don't have auto loan history.
I understand.
Right. So that was the issue. So for the listeners and viewers that may have experienced that and could attest to what I'm saying, or may encounter it more further, understand that this is how it works. You know what I mean? Don't feel a way like that's just the nature of the beast. When these lenders, they are particular about their money. They want to know, I don't care how you doing with over there with Wells Fargo with that mortgage or wherever you got it at. How are you? I don't know if you got auto loan history. Now, if you could display that, listen, I financed the car before, paid it off. They'll throw you at great interest rates. So hope that answered your question. That's just from my personal experience to the listeners and viewers.
I like it. You did good. I understood exactly what you were saying. Right. And I think, man, this was a good conversation we had, E, because like I said, I've always soaked up things from you, always. There's a lot of things that I implement, but there's some things that I haven't and some things that I should implement because I'm like anybody else, I'll sometimes get in over my head. Sometimes I'll do too much, and I got to catch myself and reel myself back in. So this was a good conversation. All in all, I knew you was the man to get into the great deep depth and insight into credit. So this was a good conversation all in all. And as always, I'm grateful to even have this opportunity to the viewers to bring this information, and it's going to get better. We started this with an idea. 2024 is on the way. We got big things coming, big things down the line. We're talking to multiple different people. And so, sometimes you can't put the cart before the horse. So I don't want to jinx us, but man, I want to say thank you, man, for taking this journey with me, and is appreciative. And I've always respected you, man, and always will. And you're a good man. So
same here, my brother.
Yes, sir. So we want to thank everyone for tuning in again to another episode. Look forward for amazing things as we go along. Make sure you go to gfgoldfingerprints.com and cop the new merch. Go to Building Legacies, cop the new merch. I'm a motivational individual. Go to Stan C. Gaillard to be uplifted every morning you wake up. You're going to have something on there to make you smile, or it may make you think something about yourself, or you might say, man, is he talking to me?
Right.
But Building Legacies is about what we said, financial institution, bridging the wealth gap, and for our people, man, to become more conscious of what we can do if we just put our mind to it, man. So like I said, this was a beautiful episode, Ian. As always, love. And we want to thank all the viewers. You got anything else to say?
No, that's it, man. I appreciate this opportunity to build with you on this subject, man, because I understand how vital it is, man, to financial success. Other communities are utilizing these strategies and principles, and we trying to figure out what are they doing. This is one of them, credit, right? Amongst others that we should be implementing as well. We're going to get into, we spoke about briefly just the pooling of resources and things of that nature.
Yeah, and you on my mind. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Credit and, understanding the value of it, and not just building credit to be consumers. You know what I mean? Building your credit to leverage to start a business. You know what I mean? Or to maintain your business. That was my sole purpose coming home. I said, I'm going to build credit to leverage that credit to do what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? And when I look back, it's funny. I look back on it because I used to write things down, all of my plans, right? They all came into physical manifestation.
Absolutely.
Everyone, write your plans down. That's very important. Because then you'll reflect on it and say, wow, I actually did everything I said I was going to do, right? In no limit of time. You know what I mean? In no limit of time. Some you might get it done 2 years, some people might 5, but it's going to get done. And also, I'll say, just do your research, but what I spoke on today was from my own personal experience. There's a lot of information out there for y'all guys, man, just to study, buckle down, and implement it. It works. I'm a testament to it.
I'm a testament to that it works. Absolutely. Absolutely. It definitely works, man. And it's unbelievable. Credit is king, man.
Credit is king.
So as always, man, we come with love, and we want to thank everybody from tuning in, man. And we'll see you on the next episode.
All right. Peace.
Peace.